Margaret Klein, along with Patty Wheeler, founded ETLAW 30 years ago.
Margaret Klein and I had talked about there being no women's law association here. When I came here, I was kind of surprised. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know any attorneys. And so I thought, well, I'll just contact the Women's Law Association. And then I learned there wasn't one.
We began to think, perhaps we might want to consider having a women's bar association. So that all started in '83. Patty and I together contacted as many women attorneys as we thought might be interested. And a large group came that evening.
So I was asked to come to the first meeting, kind of an organizing meeting for women lawyers.
When ETLAW started in the early 80s, at that time, I didn't think ETLAW was a good idea. I thought we needed to blend in. I really regret that now, that I didn't continue being involved in ETLAW, because now I can see how much that support means.
The earliest goals for the organization were more supportive, to support one another.
Practicing law in Tennessee in 1983, there were not a lot of women who were practicing law in Knoxville.
I was the only woman practicing law in my county for probably 15 years, of the first 15 years, so I never really saw any other women attorneys.
I was the only female on the Court of Criminal Appeals for about 10 years before Judge McMillan was appointed. I was concerned about being a female coming into this small town to practice law. They wouldn't accept me.
I did not know any women that were even thinking about going to law school.
I had always wanted to be a lawyer. When I told my family that I wanted to be a lawyer when I grew up, that was really frowned upon because Southern ladies did not become lawyers.
My father is a lawyer, and I always wanted to be a lawyer. But he and most other people said, well, girls can't be lawyers. But I decided I really didn't care what limits other people wanted to put on me. I was going to law school.
When I graduated from law school, it was hard for women to get jobs here in Knoxville at that time. I interviewed with a lot of law firms who told me that they would love to hire me, thought my grades and everything were good, except that I was a woman and I could get pregnant.
There were a lot of challenges in trying to get a job. The interview process still makes me sort of get chills occasionally when I think about some of the things that happened in initial interviews and what was happening with other women. Back then, even the larger firms in town felt free to state out to the public and on the street that they were not going to hire any women, or that they were not going to hire any women for litigation.
Life for women lawyers in Knoxville was not what life for the men was.
People would treat me differently because I was in mostly a male room. Sometimes remarks were made in and outside my earshot that would never have been made about a male lawyer.
I was often referred to in court as young lady. At the time, it was a little offensive, but I didn't let it stop me from continuing whatever I was saying. I just, ignored it and went on.
I know I was treated differently, but I made a conscious decision not to use any energy to fight that, but rather to channel it in a productive way.
The challenge at the time of being a female practicing law was just that it was unusual. My name is spelled as a man would spell Terry, so sometimes they were surprised they were getting a woman on the phone. And I had many clients say, "Are you any good?"
When we began to practice and we started stepping into the various courts, we encountered quite a bit of difficulty from a few of the judges. I remember a judge telling me, "You don't belong in a courtroom," and of all the places I belong is in the courtroom.
My first involvement with ETLAW was at the big public meeting before it was actually formed.
We used to meet in the basement of the library here in downtown Knoxville. We probably had 10 to 12 members originally.
We would get together and share our problems. and we heard various stories of things that would happen in their law firms. I think that in general, some of the women decided they needed a women's lawyer group.
When we formed ETLAW, at the time we didn't really have an agenda per se. Margaret and I were hoping that we would simply reach out to other women, and women that we might not have a chance to know in our practice.
But there truly was a special need for women to have an opportunity to talk to one another, to mentor one another.
Just having the organization and knowing that women will come and be a part of it and we can mentor some of the ladies, that's very important. It's extremely important.
I realized that ETLAW really had a great group of women who encouraged and supported each other. You had the opportunity to not only network at lunch once a month, but you also got a CLE as a part of your membership.
The best thing about ETLAW that I get out of it anyway, going to the meetings every month, is getting to see friends. One of the best parts is getting sort of an informal, quick introduction to some area of law that I may not practice. But I think ETLAW is a great opportunity to go and socialize as well as be able to sometimes empathize and even sympathize with folks who are going through different challenges, and they feel like family.
ETLAW came as a bit of a surprise to me after I moved to Tennessee, a really pleasant surprise that I can always go to when I go to a meeting and ask for advice, ask for counsel on things. It's a bit of a professional development association in that sense, but really I think of it more as a community of women who have in common the practice of law. I think the challenge is to continue to make that relevant as things change in the practice of law and as things change for women.
In terms of my experience in my first few years of practice, one of the things I'm most grateful for is the work that's been done by women who are the generation before me. That I have a lot of opportunities that I think they did not have. I think I have respect that they did not have. And I think that's in large due to the work that was done by the women who founded ETLAW.
It's really nice to have people to reach out to if you have a question about the law. A lot of times as a young lawyer, you don't know how to proceed with certain difficult issues, and ETLAW has definitely given me a network of women that I can reach out to.
I believe it's a question that we ask all the time. Is ETLAW still relevant? Do we still need specialty bars? And I think the answer is yes, that community is important, and there is a community in ETLAW. I don't know where it's going, but as long as there's a community there that's important to people, ETLAW will be there.
In 1932, there was a women's bar group in Knoxville, long before ETLAW, but it died out because the people who were involved in it just didn't give it enough precedence long enough. And that's one thing you can say about the women who founded this group and the original officers of this group. They've stayed with it, and I think that has made a difference, and I'd like to say thank you.
Happy 30th birthday, ETLAW. I look forward to helping us get to 30 more.
I'd like to wish ETLAW a very happy 30th anniversary, and I'd like to say thank you to all the women who started ETLAW, kept it going through the years, and supported and mentored me and so many other women in the Knoxville and East Tennessee area.
Congratulations, ETLAW, on 30 wonderful years of helping women.
Just want to wish both ETLAW and the law women at the College of Law happy birthday.
Well, I want to thank all the women who created ETLAW. You are of my generation. You may not want to admit that, but you are. I want to thank the women who did that and the women who came before me.
Congratulations to ETLAW for 30 great years of empowering women and helping women advance in their careers.
We've come a long way in the practice of law, and I just really look forward to what the next 30 years is going to bring for women in the practice of law. And ETLAW will continue to be a great force at shaping that path.
I want to wish ETLAW the happiest of birthdays and say thank you for the years that you have given all of you to devote to the progress of women in our bar.
I think I just hope that the next 30 years for ETLAW, that in 30 years we find an organization that's as strong and that has made as much of an impact as the past 30 years have made for my generation of attorneys.
I'd just like to wish everyone a great anniversary for ETLAW and hope that you have another 30 years to come.
Well, I hope that they will enjoy the celebration, enjoy the speakers, appreciate when Judge Daughtry speaks how much she knows and how much she's given to all of us, and will carry the work forward.